At 6 o'clock, a WBTV investigation uncovers new emails between City of Charlotte staffers that suggest planners knew of a $70 million budget shortfall for the Cross Charlotte Trail months before they ever alerted members of council.
Yeah, news of the shortfall, which means parts of the trail will be delayed or never built, was first broken to council members earlier this year. But investigative reporter David Hodges has found staff could have alerted council members and taxpayers sooner, but they did not. David's here with more.
Right. Voters approved nearly $40 million in bonds for the Cross Charlotte Trail since 2014, including an extra $5 million just this past November. But last fall's vote, staff already knew the project had a major funding shortfall, but decided not to tell city leaders or the voting public in the few months leading up to that vote. The Cross Charlotte Trail has been 5 years in the making. There have been many twists and turns.
I'm kind of flabbergasted by these numbers.
The blind curve came on January 7th at a Charlotte City Council meeting.
Are we saying in plain English we don't have the money to finish the Cross Charlotte Trail?
That's right.
That was the day city staff revealed a $77 million shortfall on the Cross Charlotte Trail project. Mike Davis oversees the project as City Director of Engineering and Property Management and delivered news of the shortfall to council.
Understood that that's not a message that people want to hear, but ultimately it's helpful.
We sat down with Davis to find out whether council and voters could have known about the shortfall sooner, including before approving $5 million worth of bonds for the project this past November.
And so you always have to ask yourself, when is the right moment to stop and explain to people involved and who care about it where we stand.
Davis said his staff brought this problem to the council's attention in February 2018. But video of Davis' presentation that day shows he never actually addressed the shortfall when he briefed council members.
I don't recall having a conversation. I recall it being among the materials that was provided.
A PowerPoint presentation from that day provided to WBTV shows a slide in which the city identified $62 million was needed to complete the city's portion of the Cross Charlotte Trail. But it was never discussed at the meeting.
Do you feel your office has been completely transparent in this process?
Yes.
WBTV requested Davis emails leading up to the January 7, 2019 announcement. In one email chain with staff members on October 30th, Davis asked when the next council action item is for the Brandywine to Tyvola segment of the trail. They showed Davis suggesting to staff that they delay discussion of some action items with council if they become controversial, and instead possibly asking council to award a contract for the South Charlotte Connector first.
Was there any planning to try and not let council get cold feet so you could get the South Charlotte Connector award?
No, none at all. It's simply a way to make sure that the information is well organized and cohesive.
Not in any way so that you could get this multi-million-dollar award and not have council afraid about the current status of the project?
No.
Ultimately, council awarded the South Charlotte Connector contract after being informed of the $77 million funding gap. Other emails show Davis specifically telling a staff member to not mention the possibility of a full council briefing to Councilman Greg Phipps since they hadn't confirmed they'd be doing one yet.
Was there ever any intention not to inform council about this?
No, there was never any intention to not tell council. That was at a moment in time where the manner in which we would be communicating with council wasn't known yet.
But Davis says that the city has been making an effort to not blindside the public about Cross Charlotte Trail costs.
People who have paid attention to the Cross Charlotte Trail, and we've done a lot of community engagement on this project for years, have generally been in touch with the project's development, and I think are not surprised that the project needs additional funding.
But this much funding may be a little bit of surprise.
For some people, yes.
I'm just uncomfortable. I kind of feel like I'm a party to a misrepresentation to the taxpayers.
And so,
well, even the council was a little surprised.
And so I would say that absolutely we could have done more and should have done more to be clear with the public earlier than that moment.
The city is moving ahead with design and planning on the unfunded segments of the Cross Charlotte Trail, but until new money is identified or approved by voters, the city won't get the trail it originally envisioned. Davis says the city has addressed planning concerns that led to wildly inaccurate estimates for the Cross Charlotte Trail and other capital improvement projects. We'll continue to investigate what led up to this realization for the city. Back to you guys.
Well, new at 6, we've uncovered new information showing City of Charlotte employees deliberately hid troubling information about the Cross Charlotte Trail from the city manager.
WBTV's investigative reporter David Hodges was first to find staff knew about a massive budget shortfall with the project months before it became public. And now he's learned some staffers knew about it even sooner, but said nothing. David?
Yeah, Jamie and Maureen, turns out staff at the Cross Charlotte Trail project knew about a multi-million-dollar budget shortfall a month earlier than previously reported, but they took steps to keep their bosses and the public in the dark.
I'm kind of flabbergasted by these numbers.
Charlotte City Council was shocked on January 7th when city staff revealed that the Cross Charlotte Trail was underfunded by $77 million.
Are we saying in plain English we don't have the money to finish the Cross Charlotte Trail?
That's right.
WBTV previously uncovered emails showing city staff knew about the budget shortfall as early as October. But new emails obtained by WBTV through a public records request show engineering and property management staff had the new numbers even earlier. An email from September 7th shows there was a request to cost out the entire Cross Charlotte Trail program through construction. Over the next couple of weeks, city contractors started sending in estimates for portions of the trail, and by September 26th, the city staff were circulating new cost projections for the Cross Charlotte Trail. But that information stayed hidden from council and the public until January 7th, well after a November vote to approve another $5 million in bonds for the project.
Could the public and council have known before January 7th about this?
I mean, what I would say is that the development of a project like this that plays out over years is sort of a fluid thing.
WBTV interviewed engineering and property management director Mike Davis in March about the Cross Charlotte Trail timeline and costs.
Do you feel your office has been completely transparent in this process?
Yes.
But new emails obtained by WBTV raised new questions about the city's transparency. On September 20th, engineering employees were emailing about an upcoming meeting with Mike Davis and a member of the city manager's office. The employee wrote, "Per our last meeting with Veronica, I hid the slides we didn't think were relevant for Mike Davis to communicate up to the manager's office." The attached PowerPoint shows slides crossed out about cost escalations for different trail segments. While cost estimates were finalized in late September, engineering did not meet with city leadership until October 8th. It wasn't until November 30th that the city manager received a note detailing the new cost projections. Some city staffers think the talk about costs was put off for too long. Right after the engineering staff met about the new cost estimates, one of the project leaders wrote, quote, "I'm glad some things got out in the open yesterday. A more robust conversation about the Cadillac Trail versus good enough needs to be had." And according to emails obtained by WBTV, Charlotte is not getting that Cadillac version. City Manager Marcus Jones proposed moving forward on the Cross Charlotte Trail with $54 million through a variety of funding sources and leaving two segments in the north part of town until later. But one of the earliest cost projections showed the project could cost as much as another $127 million. I spoke with Mike Davis over the phone this afternoon. He says they weren't trying to hide information from the city manager, but that word was used because it's a function on a PowerPoint presentation. He still didn't answer my questions, though, about why his staff was waiting more than 2 months to alert the city manager's office about the shortfall they found out about in September.